Heyo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. It's Royal Rumble time. We are 6 days away from the Royal Rumble, everybody's favorite WWE pay-per-view event, and we are at the go-home show tonight. It's time to build anticipation for this weekend's pay-per-view, and just like the WWE always does, they fail. They fail tremendously because as a go-home show for this one, as always, they weren't even trying. They gave us another show full of repeat segments and full of superstars that we don't want to see working 2 and 3 segments in one show, and it was almost criminal. We are going to go over all of the things wrong with tonight's show just like we do, because it's time to bring the hammer down on Monday Night Raw right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review and reaction show for the Royal Rumble Go-Home Show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
You know, when you watch an episode like tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw, you have to know that the WWE just doesn't care, because they know that WWE wrestling fans are going to tune into the Royal Rumble. They know they don't have to try because the Royal Rumble match sells itself, but they're not supposed to act like that. They're not supposed to just give up and be like, well, we'll just hit the repeat button for the 3rd, 4th week in a row. Give everybody the same old shit on our way to the Royal Rumble, where we're supposed to be building hype for this year's WrestleMania. And all they did was make me want to put this hammer to this head for, the 100th time this year already. It was just a really boring affair where they had a couple of interesting ideas come forth with what they're doing with Retribution finally actually being interesting, but you have to know that they damaged this group so much that at the end of the day, the act just doesn't work anymore. I like what Ali is doing, building towards this feud with Kofi and trying to play back on their history from last year when Kofi took his spot. Now he's going to take Kofi's spot. Like, I get that, but imagine how great it would be if they actually gave a shit about Retribution and built them up as a viable force and not just this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reject villain group. It would be so much better. And there's so much about this show that could be so much better. It was great to see Drew McIntyre back on the show. We kicked off this episode with the returning champion looking great, kicked the virus. He's looking like he's ready for Sunday in his challenge for Goldberg, and I was alright to see Drew McIntyre open the show. What then transpired was a circus line, a cavalcade of garbage that was just thrown our way, because we had to have The Miz and John Morrison, and then we seen Goldberg, and then they followed it up with Charlotte Flair, and then they had to follow that up with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and an entire almost 40-minute segment for the women's division that made entirely no sense, which you could pretty much just call the Charlotte Flair half-hour comedy hour, or drama hour, as it were. And it was the most boring first hour of Monday Night Raw that I have sat through in quite some time. But the format remained somewhat the same as the previous couple of weeks has. We had an opening segment, and then we went to a Charlotte Flair segment. And the opening segment wasn't that great to begin with. It's not too much to talk about. Drew McIntyre talking about being happy to be back, being ready for Bill Goldberg. He gets interrupted by The Miz and Morrison because they gave The Miz the Money in the Bank contract back so that he could be part of this whole Goldberg thing, I guess, so that he could be a looming threat to Drew McIntyre and or Bill Goldberg after their Royal Rumble matchup. I don't care. I hope to God The Miz doesn't cash in, because I don't want to see The Miz be the champion again. Or if he does cash in, I hope he loses, even though Drew McIntyre has to beat Bill Goldberg first. I don't care. They should have never gave it back. It was fine when it was gone, and now they brought it back just to force The Miz into main event situations he's got no business being in. And I didn't care about this. I didn't care about Bill Goldberg coming out. I didn't care about them beating up Miz and Morrison because they were trying to antagonize the situation. Miz and John Morrison being the two twerps that they are, trying to get Goldberg and Drew to fight as they came face to face in the ring tonight. And it was all for what? All for what? All for Drew to deliver a Claymore kick and for Goldberg to deliver a spear and then walk away from the ring looking like he just had a 40-minute mat classic, huffing and puffing, winded already from doing one move. Typical stuff that we see when we see Bill Goldberg come back. Who cares about any of this? Best case scenario, Drew beats Bill Goldberg and we don't have to see him again until WrestleMania where they have some other match for him to do. Worst case scenario, Bill Goldberg beats Drew McIntyre and he becomes the WWE champion. And there's no way that The Miz is going to make any difference in any of this. So it was a completely wasted first opening segment. And then you had Charlotte Flair come out. Charlotte Flair's coming out. She's going to take on Shayna Baszler. There's an alternate reality somewhere where this match was handled with care and was built week after week with interesting segment after interesting segment playing off their history of both being part of factions that called themselves the Four Horsewomen. Charlotte Flair being Becky Lynch's best friend, Shayna Baszler being Ronda Rousey's best friend, the whole WrestleMania thing. There's so much history there that they could build upon, but instead we're just going to throw this match on a random Monday Night Raw, the go-home show for the Royal Rumble, and we're going to have Shayna Baszler have her tag team partner, but Charlotte Flair doesn't get hers. Charlotte Flair, one half of the women's tag team champions with Asuka, but Asuka doesn't come out with her partner. Is this because she has a match later in the evening? That's never stopped them before. Every other person can have 2 or 3 segments on the night, but Asuka can't have more than one segment tonight. She's the Raw Women's Champion. She has to defend the title later tonight. She can't come out with Charlotte Flair as backup. Oh, wait. It'll make sense if you're a drunk person or if your name is Bruce Pritchard or Vince McMahon. Fuck Asuka. Who cares? Let's do something better than that. Let's give Charlotte Flair 2 other blondes to go in the ring with her. Let's give her Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. Get out of it. This whole thing from start to finish was nonsense. The singles match between Charlotte and Baszler was stopped because Nia Jax got involved, causing the disqualification. This then prompted them to beat up Charlotte Flair. Asuka still nowhere to be found, but instead she gets saved. She gets saved by Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Also, somewhere along the line, Lacey Evans ends up out there to even the playing field, and now we have a 6-woman tag team matchup on this show that we didn't need. And now another match for Charlotte Flair, and this match just kind of went on and was very, very boring and didn't really do much, and it felt like it went on forever, but it really was only about 5 minutes of ring time, and it just broke down into nothing. It really was just a waste of time. And then Nia Jax gets the win for her team with a leg drop. Big deal. Big deal, who cares? How does this build up towards this week's Royal Rumble? Or this weekend's Royal Rumble? What is this doing for anybody? It's not doing anything for me. I know it didn't do anything for any of you that sat through this whole entire affair, which was a complete waste of everybody's time. Once again, they decide to hit the repeat button. Xavier Woods is going to fight Slapnuts from Retribution. He has already lost to Teabag. He has also lost to Mush, Mace, whatever you want to call him. But now he's going to take on Slapnuts, Slapjack, the man with the paper plate mask, all for Retribution. This match didn't go very long, as Xavier Woods beats Slapjack with the pinfall victory, which was surprising to me. But this just ends up with Xavier Woods getting his ass beat down. Mustafa Ali giving a very good promo, telling Kofi Kingston he hopes that he watches, as he now is going to be his replacement in the Royal Rumble. Kofi Kingston has announced that he will not be taking part in the Royal Rumble due to his jaw injury, and it is being given, his spot is being given to Mustafa Ali, like I said, calling back to everything that happened previously with them on the road to WrestleMania. And it would be so much cooler if Retribution was actually something to worry about. But the best thing about Retribution is Mustafa Ali, and this is why. But should we really get that excited? No, not so much. Just like, should we really get that excited about Bad Bunny performing at the Royal Rumble? I don't know who Bad Bunny is. I don't think half the wrestling community knows what a Bad Bunny is. No disrespect to the dude. I don't know anything by him. Apparently, he's one of the top 10 acts in the United States on the music charts right now. Okay, I don't know anything he's done. And also, apparently, he has a song about Booker T. So this is why he's going to be performing at the Royal Rumble. Good for him. If he's smart, he would declare entry into the Royal Rumble. Everybody else is. Why not have Bad Bunny be number 30 in the Royal Rumble? Let's do it. It'll be more interesting than anything else you got going on. I'll tell you that much. We had the further degradation of Matt Riddle on this show as he continues to be showcased as a half-retarded man-child stoner person, and it's just absolutely brutal. He gets into this little back and forth with R-Truth, who thinks that the Hurt Business is having a surprise party for him because it was his birthday last week, and they both said something about being Capricorns or something, and then they both bad, like goes a bah. I guess because, that's the sign of the goat, right? The Capricorn. And this is, I don't know where this is coming from. R-Truth, bless his heart, one of my favorite guys on Monday Night Raw. Very good when he's on the mic, as he will show in his little funny segment on the VIP lounge, because he thought it was going to be his birthday party. But was it worth watching? No. Is this what we should be seeing on a Royal Rumble go-home show? No. No, and it gets infinitely worse for R-Truth as the night goes on. We get the VIP lounge with the Hurt Business, and Shelton Benjamin came out wearing a mask, but then suddenly took it off and put it in his pocket. I thought he was making a statement about safety and protocol, but apparently he just forgot to take his mask off before he walked out. So they have this whole VIP lounge where they're going to give MVP a necklace that says THB, and Truth came out and he thought this was a present for him because he figured the THB stood for Truth Happy Birthday, which actually made me laugh, but really it should stand for This Hot Basket of Shit, because this is not doing anything to get me excited for the Royal Rumble. This just breaks down into the inevitable moment where the entire catering roster, the 24/7 garbage dump of talent, come out to try to get R-Truth and his title, including Humberto Carrillo, who ran out with his little dimples. We found him, right? He was put in catering with the rest of the trash. And then the Hurt Business beat everybody up. Matt Riddle appeared in the ring. He attacked MVP and then ran away before the rest of the Hurt Business gets him. And that's all building up towards this gauntlet match for Matt Riddle later in the night versus the Hurt Business. Because, repeat, of course, WWE got wind. Wow, fans really thought the gauntlet match with Shinsuke was great. Shinsuke really got over by being run through the gauntlet. So let's do that for Matt Riddle here, only they would epically fail. Epically fail, because as we'll talk a little bit more about later, the Hurt Business ended up beating themselves. And Matt Riddle still somewhat looks like a clown, even though his matchup with Cedric in the finals of this gauntlet was very entertaining and was very good. Everything else about it made it seem more like the Hurt Business beat themselves than Matt Riddle beating the Hurt Business and truly earning a United States Championship opportunity. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. They all of a sudden told everybody that Edge was going to be on Raw tonight. Now, if Edge has been out for some time with his injury after his greatest match ever with Randy Orton, which was not the greatest match ever, obviously. Don't you think you'd want to take advantage of that? Now, Edge is going to show up later on tonight pretty much just to tell us that he's entering the Royal Rumble, and he would do this with a very long and touching story about, his trials and tribulations, and he's coming back and he's going to enter the Royal Rumble, which I think would have still been better off kept as a surprise. But surprises are non-existent in the WWE now. They actually plan to announce the number 30 entrant on Backstage this week. And the first two entrants of the Women's Royal Rumble are going to be announced on that show. Is nothing sacred anymore? Does nothing mean anything to them anymore? It's just absolute garbage that they would even consider doing this. Ugh, so friggin' awful. I couldn't believe it when I seen them talking about that. They also had in the back, after they talked about Edge gonna suddenly randomly be on Raw tonight, I guess that's their best way to build up anticipation for the Royal Rumble. Let's just have Edge tell everyone he's coming back. That'll make it better. Let's not leave him as a surprise again. Sure, it don't mean as much as last year when he was coming back unknown with a neck injury, but it still would have been a cool surprise for him and for us. But I guess not. Who cares, right? Surprises are dead. R-Truth is in the back once again. Obviously upset about his birthday bash not going the way he wanted. He was talking to Adam Pearce about the chances to enter the Money in the Bank ladder match, which obviously he meant the Royal Rumble, but he wasn't, this is R-Truth we're talking about. AJ Styles was there, and of course he wants to give Truth a chance because all of a sudden AJ Styles is the guardian of the Rumble. You might as well put a little wizard hat on him, give him a long beard and a staff, and have him standing there like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. You shall not pass, R-Truth. Boom! You shall not pass, Drew Gulak. Boom! Like these guys are all the Balrog, and I don't understand why AJ Styles is suddenly the keeper of the Rumble. And I don't understand why R-Truth would have to qualify for the Royal Rumble. After all, is he not the 24/7, hey, look at me, I'm a clown, avocado-colored, gold-plated championship title holder in the WWE? Shouldn't that account for something? No, but he has to prove his worth and would fail to do so, just like the other two people that AJ Styles has kept out of the Royal Rumble, Drew Gulak and Ricochet. I don't understand it. It was mildly entertaining because, once again, Truth was very funny in this moment, but really, it wasn't worth all that much. In the end, it becomes a match that we didn't need. Just like we didn't need to hear about the WWE Network moving to Peacock this March. Peacock is a streaming service by NBC Universal. I don't know what it means. I have the WWE Network. I don't know what it means for me, but I guess we'll find out, and I don't really care. Maybe it's just something exclusive if you have it. Peacock, you have access to the network. If you have the network, you probably don't have to do anything at all. But I don't know. I can give you guys more information on that when I know for sure. We had a very unnecessary matchup between Sheamus and John Morrison. But here, it was a decent match. John Morrison is a great wrestler being stuck in a shit storyline with a shit gimmick that was dead 15 years ago. At first I thought this was something that could be very good, but it has proven to be the exact opposite. Miz and Morrison are cringe TV at its finest, and this Sheamus versus John Morrison match I'm struggling to find a good way. I didn't even realize my belt fell here. Look at this. What are you doing, Blue? Losing your championship title over here. Nice way to segue me out of a flub there. But the fact of the matter is, this Sheamus versus John Morrison match, while it was unnecessary, it was mildly entertaining. It went almost about 10 minutes, and Sheamus got the win. It's nice to see them building up Sheamus. He was obviously the babyface in this scenario, and John Morrison continues, like I said, to just be latched on to The Miz. And I think the best thing that could happen is if The Miz does happen to cash in the Money in the Bank championship successfully, maybe John Morrison turns on The Miz. Maybe that would make it worth it. Maybe. And get him out of this weird best buddy, I don't give a shit, really bad corny joke guy character he's been playing. I don't know. So after this very decisive victory by Sheamus versus John Morrison. The Miz is very upset by this, and he says, no, now this is going to be me and John Morrison versus Sheamus. And Sheamus accepts this challenge, and now we'll again do double duty, and we have a 2-on-1 handicap match, making this the third segment of the night for The Miz and John Morrison, where now they just 50-50 booked John Morrison back his win. They had The Miz and John Morrison defeat Sheamus in a skit, or in a segment that lasted almost about 20 minutes of TV time. I don't know why everybody's getting double duty and wrestling multiple matches. I don't know what's going on, if there's a super hush-hush outbreak or something that nobody's being made aware of, because the Raw has plenty of talent, but they're all sitting in the back eating lunch while I guess the A squad of Raw, for lack of a better term, is just being used to death. AJ Styles would go out and defeat R-Truth in a non-title match for the 24/7 championship, but if Truth wins, he was going to get into the Royal Rumble. Obviously that didn't happen, and once again there's this alternate universe I like to talk about, but this actually could have happened in reality many years ago. I don't really remember for sure, but there is a world out there where R-Truth and AJ Styles are killing it in the WWE right now, because these guys are both former NWA/TNA World Heavyweight Champions. It's where Ron the Truth Killings was born and really found his footing, and AJ Styles, of course, is a legend over there. These two guys can have a match that could tear the house down. They can have a match that could actually main event WrestleMania, but here we are watching them do comedy TV. And it aggravates me to no end when I think about that fact, because that is a fact. These guys are bona fide world championship material being wasted in segments like this. Talking about wasted segments, they replayed a majority of Randy Orton's promo from last week, which went on and on and on for so long last week that it actually took up about 5-6 minutes of this week's show. At least it felt like it was going on forever. I thought maybe it was a new one at times, but I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure it was the same exact masked promo that we've seen him do as El Randy del Orton showed up and is mad that he didn't take care of business with Alexa Bliss. We've seen a repeat of that. Then we got another Alexa's Playground segment, and I do enjoy these segments because Alexa playing the character is great. But this was just a waste of time. It didn't really do anything. She just highlighted everything that we've already seen her do. She talked about everything that happened between her and Asuka last week on the Playhouse. She talked about how much she loved what Randy Orton's face is going to look like now. She talked to her imaginary friend on the other swing, and the whole kind of replay of last week's events again. And it didn't really do much of anything. But I do like how they're playing into maybe the Fiend is possessing Alexa Bliss. There were some cool little camera trickery shots and some nice little editing effects. That was pretty cool. Pretty cool. But then we got to go to this gauntlet match where I told you guys already. The goal here should be to build Riddle back up. After the way you made him look like a jerk-off over the last couple of weeks and made him tap out quickly to Bobby Lashley in his first encounter, made him lose multiple times to the Hurt Business and whatnot, and just made him look like an utter fool, this would be, at least in Bruce Pritchard's mind, now we have to build the kid back up. So let's make him run the gauntlet, since it works so well for a guy like Shinsuke. But the problem is they didn't take it seriously enough. The first match in this is Matt Riddle versus Shelton Benjamin, which had a decent amount of time booked to it. But it was booked to make it seem like Matt Riddle didn't have a chance. He was going to lose to Shelton Benjamin, and he was not going to advance because Shelton Benjamin had the pin. And had it not been for Cedric, unfortunately, sticking his nose in for some unknown reason and stopping the count, Matt Riddle would have lost then and there. But now, Matt Riddle rolls up Shelton Benjamin, eliminates him, which I thought was ridiculous. Shelton Benjamin was super fresh. He had the match well in hand, and he just got defeated in a roll-up real quick for the win. Just because he was distracted and thought it was more important to yell at Cedric Alexander for sticking his nose in his business. So the next person up to bat is MVP, who gets in the ring and again is more concerned about dealing with what's happening with Cedric and Shelton on the outside. His attention is distracted to the outside. Matt Riddle takes advantage. He rolls him up, but ends up getting him in a leg lock or the bro lock or whatever he calls it, the heel hook. And MVP immediately taps out, like almost before Matt Riddle even had it hooked in. So that leaves everything up to Cedric. And Cedric and Matt Riddle do have a damn good match here. But once again, even though he beats Cedric clean here for the win, it doesn't make him look that impressive. Because at the end of the day, he would never have made it past Shelton Benjamin. You see how they reverse booked it, kind of. And it just doesn't really do anything. And the way they continue to book him backstage with his ridiculous brain antics doesn't help. But here, you pretty much had the Hurt Business beat themselves. So how much good did it really do for Matt Riddle? After the match, as Riddle was celebrating, he gets attacked and put into the Hurt Lock by Bobby Lashley, and then subsequently getting his ass whooped by the rest of the Hurt Business, and this would be the end of this segment. Then we had the pre-taped Edge promo. Edge just sitting in a dark room talking about how 2020 has taught him how you can't rest on tomorrow. You have to live in the moment. You have to go for what you want. You have to pick yourself up. You got to keep walking forward, which is a great metaphor for all of us to follow, considering the terrible year that we all just lived through. So 10 years ago at WrestleMania 27, he went to bed the world champion, and within a week he forfeited the title and his dream. He then talked about some more touching stuff with his mom. He talked about Backlash. Randy Orton tore his tricep, and now he can't live in that space where you had everything taken away from you, so he's going to take it back, and he's entering the Royal Rumble. He knows it's not going to be like last year because the stakes also are much higher for him this year. With every day, he says his window is closing more and more, and he wants to keep the world a more magical place, because a world without dreamers and fighters is a much less magical place, he says. He quoted Henry Ford. I have the line here: "If you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." And then closed with, "Well, I think I can, and I'll see you at the Royal Rumble." This really, I like this a lot because it opens up the speculation for the Royal Rumble. Usually you go into the Royal Rumble the last couple of years, you know who the WWE is going to pick to win. You know who the fans pretty much are going to want to have win this thing. But it's usually a very predictable affair. This year, that definitely doesn't seem the case. There are multiple talents in that ring that can walk away with the opportunity at the main event at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan, of course, is a heavy favorite. Big E, if he is in the Royal Rumble, is a heavy favorite. I could totally see him main eventing WrestleMania with Roman Reigns for the championship, maybe even title or something of that nature. Daniel Bryan, of course, as we said, is the heavy favorite. And now you can throw Edge's name into the hat on the Raw side of things. It just makes it less predictable, because you gotta kind of believe that they're gonna give it to Edge, right? This is his last shot at attaining his dream and getting back in the world title situation. But that's also the case with Daniel Bryan. Isn't this maybe his last Royal Rumble? His last opportunity to actually win a Royal Rumble, which he's never been able to do before. So it opens up some interesting windows, opens up some pretty cool doors, and it makes it much less predictable, which is what you want with the Royal Rumble. So the best thing about this whole show in its entirety was Edge telling us and ruining the surprise, so that, hey, listen, we can speculate as to who's going to win, and we don't really know until we watch this thing go down on Sunday. And then we had the Raw Women's Championship, which was a literal carbon copy of last week. Alexa Bliss came out in her new little Alexa Bliss attire. She would wrestle with Asuka for a while, and then she would end up sitting on the rocking horse, and suddenly she was transformed into Alexa Bliss from like 2015 in her old outfit with her old hairdo. And then the lights went out because she was all emotional and crying and acting very strange, and it caught Asuka off guard. And then Alexa would go into the corner and she turned into the Fiend version of Alexa Bliss. And we had another repeat of the scenario from last week. Alexa just blocking and taking care of business every which way. Asuka threw something at her. She was blocking it. Asuka went for the Asuka lock, but Alexa Bliss turned it into the mandible claw, only to have Randy Orton pop up behind her with his full face in full view, and he looked like he took a slice of pizza and smashed it on his face before he ran into the ring, all red and supposedly scarred. Shows up in the ring, Randy Orton behind Alexa Bliss. Suddenly, Alexa Bliss senses him, apparently. She turns around, gives him a look, and then gets an RKO to the face, ending the show. Now, they didn't officially end the match, but you gotta believe that Alexa Bliss wins by disqualification due to Randy Orton's interference here. And it'll be interesting to see if they have anything to do with one another as we get closer to the Royal Rumble. Is Alexa Bliss going to play the fart? The fart! I certainly don't think she's going to play the fart. What I was going to say is she's going to play the part of the Fiend as a distraction for Randy as he still plans on being in the Royal Rumble. Is he going to subsequently cost her fart in the Women's Royal Rumble on the same night? We're going to have to tune in and see. While that maybe could be interesting, I don't know where they're really going with this whole thing. Obviously, it's going to lead to the return of Bray Wyatt, and I guess it's more interesting than the cockroaches in the ring and the whole burning down the Wyatt family compound. And Alexa's really been doing some fabulous work. But it was just meh to me. It wasn't like this groundbreaking, oh my god, you guys, you gotta go watch what they did on Monday Night Raw. And this whole thing with Randy and Alexa continues to spin, and we're going to have to see which way it lands as we get closer to the Royal Rumble this Sunday. What is it going to do for either one of them? I don't know. I do know I'm going to watch it. I know you guys are going to watch it. And I also know that when you're done watching it, you're going to come back here to see everything that goes wrong with the Royal Rumble this Sunday, because I'm sure it's going to be full of poop, hammer-worthy moments. I want you guys to, while you're watching the Royal Rumble, if you feel that there's something you want to pinpoint, you could tell me about it on Twitter. You can follow me there at Nick Nightmare. You can get to me at Instagram over here at Nick_Nightmare. Or you could just come on over to here. You could comment on a video or something, ask me a question about what's going on during the Royal Rumble. Try to interact with me that way. Maybe I could answer some questions on the Royal Rumble review Sunday night. Also, if you're new around these parts and you enjoyed yourself here today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Click the notification bell so that you don't miss anything, like our review of SmackDowns on Friday and our subsequent review of the Royal Rumble this Sunday. And if you want to stay notified and on top of it and be a loyal Sledgehammer Wrestling Show member, all you have to do, subscribe, hit that thumbs up and that notification bell. Then share this video with anybody that you might think might want to come have a good time here with us as we bash on some wrestling because it deserves it. Because they're not even trying. They know we're going to watch, so they said, fuck it. Let's just do the same old shit as always. They don't take any chances. They don't do anything interesting. And on this night, as we've seen, the new trend is to have wrestlers work multiple matches to fill up time on Monday Night Raw, because it's a complete lack of creativity. I don't think it has anything to do with an outbreak or anything of that nature. I just truly think they don't know what to do, so they just roll one thing into the next, and it makes for a mishmash of a show. like we had tonight. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, who's having a belt problem tonight. Not acting like a world champion tonight, Blueski. But this is Blue the Snowball microphone. We're going to get his belt game back in fleek in time for Friday's show. We'll figure something out. I don't know what his problem is, but we'll work it out. Because the most important member of this team, as always, is each and every one of you. Hopefully your belts are not all messed up and crooked where you're at. And if they are, go fix them, because you're better than that. Thank you guys all so very much for being here. If you missed anything else on the show from the last couple of weeks, make sure you check it out in the annotations up above. That's going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.